Donald Trump's slide from a firm president who was said to keep American interests at its core has taken a severe beating. Trump, who appeared to protect Americans and its companies' interests at the beginning of his presidency, is now a man who is seen threatening companies like Apple, Harley Davidson, and Amazon, among others. Take, for example, his relationship with Apple and its CEO, Tim Cook. In 2019, Trump praised Cook, even calling him Tim Apple in a widely publicized clip that turned into a meme.
Into our country. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple.
That moment was not just humorous, it highlighted Trump's comfort with Cook, who had, up to that point, made efforts to engage with the administration on trade, tax, and tech issues. Tim Cook's a great executive. We are bringing a lot of jobs back to America. And he's helping, Trump declared at a press conference. But behind the scenes, things shifted. Rumors swirled that Trump invited Cook to join his delegation on a Middle East trip, a high profile gesture. Cook reportedly declined. Not long after, Trump publicly floated the idea of imposing additional tariffs on Apple products manufactured overseas, particularly in China. Suddenly, the goodwill was gone. The message was clear: cooperate or face consequences. This was no isolated incident. Time and again, Trump's policies and statements reflected a reactive strategy driven less by consistent doctrine and more by shifting personal dynamics. Consider Boeing during the 737 MAX crisis in early 2019. After two deadly crashes, Trump initially resisted grounding the aircraft, aligning with Boeing executives and pushing back on regulatory overreach. We've spoken to Boeing. They're working very, very hard, he insisted. But as public outrage grew and international authorities grounded the aircraft, Trump reversed course, issuing an emergency order himself. The pivot was not based on new data, but on mounting public pressure and changing perception. The pattern repeated with Harley Davidson. In 2018, the iconic motorcycle manufacturer announced it would move some production overseas to avoid retaliatory EU tariffs, a result of Trump's own steel and aluminum tariff policies. Trump, once a vocal supporter of the brand, lashed out, "I've done so much for you, and then this? Great move, Harley," he tweeted sarcastically. A company once praised as an example of American manufacturing was now a political target, simply for responding rationally to the market conditions Trump himself had helped create. Then there is Amazon and Jeff Bezos. Trump's disdain for Bezos was well known, not just as a rival billionaire, but as the owner of the Washington Post, a frequent critic of his presidency. Despite Amazon's substantial economic footprint in the US, Trump repeatedly accused the company of unfair practices and targeted it over federal contracts and postal fees. Amazon is taking advantage of the United States Post Office. It is a scam, he claimed, but analysts argued his actions were less about economic principles and more about personal animus. Perhaps one of the most dramatic cases was the TikTok saga in 2020. Trump ordered a ban on the Chinese-owned app unless it sold to an American company. Microsoft was in talks, but ultimately Oracle, a company with closer ties to Trump allies, emerged as the administration's preferred suitor. National security concerns were cited, but the negotiations were anything but straightforward. They echoed a theme: economic nationalism often wrapped in personal alliances. Trump invited business leaders to the White House, often showcasing cooperation, but the underlying pattern remained. If a CEO fell out of favor, so too did the company standing with the administration. From tariffs to tech, Trump's presidency revealed a consistent inconsistency. Policy shifts that seemed abrupt, even contradictory, made sense when viewed through the lens of perception, not principle. Whether it was rewarding praise or punishing dissent, his business diplomacy often followed the personal. Tim Cook was once Tim Apple, a partner in progress, but when cooperation waned, so did the favor. In Trump's world, the deal wasn't just about dollars, it was about deference. In business, as in politics, Donald Trump may have promised consistency, but what he delivered was a roller coaster, steered less by policy, more by perception.